So this is a little rescue pony that's the people, you know, are obviously giving it a home, and they've decided that they'd like to do something with it. So they've sent it over for driving. Now, with rescue ponies, which is a lovely thing to do, and obviously there's a lot that want rescuing. But what we still have to do is they still have to have some discipline. And discipline, as I've said 1,000 times, is a dirty word in this day and age. But basically, discipline is giving them boundaries in which to work. You still need the discipline. And as I say, discipline is just as you would a child or anyone, we all need discipline. We discipline ourselves. The problem is, when you get a pony that's a rescue pony, people say automatically, oh, you can't touch his head, you can't pick his feet up, you can't do this because he's a rescue pony. But we have to do them things to maintain the pony, just maintenance. So this little fella has, when I've tried to hold his head, lead him, turn him round, do anything, he would quite happily, and I would say intentionally, hit you with his head. So he would quite violently turn around at you with his head. So what we've done, we spent a lot of time just getting him to watch it. So what I'm going to do is just come up here now. He still doesn't like it, touching his ears, touching his head, touching his muzzle, the whole of his head. And he's learnt to use his head as a weapon. Now, you say to me, well, come back, darling. Hey, good baby. Come back, my boy. Come back, little boy. Come back, little darling. So he wouldn't let you touch. So if you see here, but this was much more violent before. Now, I've just spent a great deal of time in the evenings, just sat with him. And what I've been able to do is to clip this away for his bridle path. So he wouldn't want you to touch his head anywhere, his ears or anything, right? And he would use his head, as I say, as a weapon. And he caught me several times in the face, in the chest, and it's like being hit with a hammer. I mean, if you weigh his head and then imagine someone hitting you with a hammer, that's what it feels like. It's painful. But what's it? Now, what I've done, I've let this noseband hang down here a little bit, yeah? Just while I'm doing things with him. Can you see? So he's used to the noseband. I can actually take it off. Can you see? It's that low. But that's for a purpose, right? So it's there. So when I move it, my hand is here. If I do it this side, just gently, I'll move come over, baby. Whoa, you see that jerk? I've got my arm over him because he come up and hit me right in the face. You see the jerk? Look, the sharpness of it. So what I'm doing, I'll just move that like that, up there, like that. And then I can get my hand round and do that, and now I can touch his muzzle, yeah? You could not do that without him swinging violently. You see the quick little jerks then? Well, he'd throw his head, but so fast. So then what I'd done was very, very quietly, it's taken me ages to cut this bridle path. Now, I haven't done it by sedating him. I don't really want to do that. I want to gain his confidence enough in me to let me cut this bridle path, yeah? You could not do this with him. You couldn't do what I'm doing now with my finger without him reacting violently. So I couldn't do this, look, just touching it like that. He wouldn't let me do that. Just touching his ear, and he'd be, can you see that? Now, I'm not hurting him, am I? But I'm just touching it. Now, people assume that he's a rescue pony, he's probably been beaten. I've seen them with head collars left on, and yes, they've cut into their flesh, and they're sore as anything. Why wouldn't they be upset? But this little fella here, come on, my darling boy, that's it. So I can do this with him now, but when we've done this, as you'll see when Mel does a close-up, is full of big, big scabs. So the whole of this area on here would have been really sore. But it's nothing to do with a head collar, is it? Because the head collar would sit here, and this is more on all of his forelock. So I've just spent ages with me little quiet clippers, and I mean ages, hour and a half, talking to him, being gentle with him, like this, yes, but getting to cut all this away. You know, we will see when Mel shows you, but each side here, we've cut away. So right around his whole forelock, now we've moved, and it is full of scabs. So a lot of people would think, because he's been knocked, beaten, hit around the head, tied up, dragged along by his head collar, that he's the way he is. But even if that was the truth, right, and even if that is 100% true, we've still got to build their confidence, and they've got to allow us to maintain and look after them, which means, obviously, we've got to get here. So we can't make the excuse that it's a rescue pony, so he won't let us do that. We've got to do it to maintain it. So as I say again, just because he's a rescue pony doesn't mean that he hasn't got to be maintained as any other horse, pony. So that's the point we're trying to make. Because this is a rescue pony, and who knows what he's gone through. Probably hell and back, like a lot of the poor buggers, but because he's a rescue pony, this could be another pony, just in the stable, you know, bumped his head. And where these Shetlands have got so much stuff, you can't see what's going on. You cannot see what's going on. So you go to put the, you know, the head collar on, and underneath all of this, there's a sore. Something, he scratched his head. He might have rubbed his head on a fence post, as simple as that. Drove a splinter right into his head, you know, into his skin. It's festered, it's done. You can't see it because, especially with Shetlands, with all this lot, so you can't see it. So then, there, my little darling. So then you go to touch it, you think, whatever's wrong with him, his head shy. It's because he's been beaten. No, do have been being beaten. But as we maintain all horses, these rescue ponies must be maintained in exactly the same way so that we can look after them. But often rescue ponies, people use, not an excuse exactly, but they say, well, you can't do it because he's a rescue pony, because of what might have happened to him in the past. Well, no one actually knows what happened to him in the past, or sometimes you might have an indication, but that's a very important thing. And if you see what I can do with him now to what he was like, I mean, he banged me right in the face here 2 or 3 times, in the chest, up under the jaw, you know, where he would throw his head and use it as a weapon. But now, he knows I'm not going to hurt him, yeah? And look at him now. Look, I can run my hand right down there, like that. And just slowly, I'm not fast yet, and I can touch him. And, you know, that's marvellous. And we've got a good relationship, and I can touch his ears now. You see, he's still got that jerk. He don't want to do it. But you see, a lot of people, that's my darling. You've got to be patient, and you've got to do it, and slowly, and like that, you know, and just do that, and there's a good boy. And then when he starts jerking away, just give it a scratch. Just take your time with him. Come on, my baby, here's a good boy. If you feel yourself getting frustrated, walk away. You saw you getting frustrated and you start shouting or pulling him about, it's no bloody good. Now look at him there, look, see? From being what he was, jerky, now I'm up both ears, and I'm just showing him that I'm not going to hurt him, yeah? And then he didn't want me to do that, so we start again, just talking to him gently. Oh, my baby, there's a good boy. Yeah, that's it. And each time we're doing it, he's getting a little bit better. But this has taken 10, 15 days to get this far. But in doing what we're doing, so we can maintain it, we find all these scabs. But it's nothing to do, the position of them are here. They were down here a bit, but you wouldn't think it was related necessarily to head collar, but none of us know. But now we can do this, I can touch his ears, yeah? I mean, just look at that, you know, where we can do that, where we're taking our time nice and gently. But just because they're rescue, don't mean to say we can't, or we haven't got to maintain, we've got to maintain them. Just like any other horse could get a sore. For any reason, we'd have to maintain it, wouldn't we? So now I can do this with him, yeah? He'll forget every now and again. And he'll start throwing his head for a couple of times. Then he realises, no, he's not going to hurt me. But it's not him thinking that I'm going to hurt him. It could be. It's not that he's thinking that I'm going to hurt him because of what's happened in the past, because his head's been sore. But because he's a rescue pony, they link that to, oh, he must have been beaten about the head, he must have been tied down, he must have been on a stump chain, he must have been this. It might well have been that he just rubbed his head on something, as any other pony could do. So that's my message to you. When they're a rescue, They've still got to be maintained, and you've got to do it, and you've got to take your time. And what I can do with him now, the people that own him would tell you was impossible. You know, you couldn't do it. But see, I'll do that now. Push his ears right down, over his eyes, down. Yeah, still a little bit of objection, but I don't force him. See, I never force him. Just keep doing it gently, slowly, softly, and like that. You got to have the patience of a saint. If you feel yourself getting upset, frustrated, walk away, because you ain't going to do him no favours, and that's what we're here for. You know, you're definitely not going to do him any favours, because you'll start getting uptight, then you'll come here when I tell you. No good. You know, he don't want that. See there? I touch his ear a little bit different there, like that. And he jerked his head. Before, he would throw his head right into your face, into your chest, into your arm, anywhere. And he would use it, and he'd learned that that was a weapon, and he could use it just like someone hitting you with a hammer. But there he is there, that's it. So what I'm going to do now is lift this head collar up, because I've used my head collar, as I said to you before, to get down here. Yeah, I can take it right off his nose, see? And I can get down here now, whereas before you couldn't do it. So when I've finished my exercise, you have to remember to do this, otherwise you'll be hanging down up his nose. When I put it up there, and our cow collars we use here, I'll just mention this, our cow collars we use are so good for this type of exercise, yeah? Because I want to take that off him, that head collar, yeah? Entirely, you see? So not restrain him by his nose, put him on here, remove this, yeah, over his head, yeah? So now he knows, he's not daft, he knows the only thing that's holding him is that. And if I can still do that, yeah, down there, yeah, he can see that he can come round, he can feel this on his neck, but he's still letting me do that, which is lovely, you know, that really pleasing, do you know what I mean? When you get, sort of win the day, if you like, and they get their confidence in you, and they're happy for you to handle them. That's what it's all about. I'm not opening the bridle, the head collar up purposely, because I'm pushing it back over his head. Can you see? I'm laying his ears down. Yeah. I'm putting it back into place. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of horses, ponies you couldn't do that with, just ordinary ponies that are used every day and handled all the time. Wouldn't want you to do that, but you let me push that over. But you never get anywhere at all. Now, Rupert, who works for us, you know, who does all the maintenance, looks after the place, well, keeps it all up together, has just walked past, and straight away he's a little bit uptight, you know, straight away that's it, and he's got his eye on him and like that. But now we can do that. There's a good boy. Come here, my darling. So I've only got him on the neck again, look. That's all I've got him. I'm not pulling him down by here so I can control his nose. Right, I'm going to let that go. I'm just going to go, there's a good lad. There's old baby. No one's going to hurt you, mate. That's it. And they get to know. All I would say to you, don't start this exercise if you haven't got time. If you think you've got half an hour, make sure you've got an hour, because you could easily spend an hour. And don't be like, I would call it, if you're on a yard, if you're following, you know, trying to do exactly the same thing with your pony, when say your head collar's not fitted right, there's always people giving you plenty of advice. People could come here and say, have you seen that barrier hook? Is your head collar hanging right down on a horse's nose? I can't believe it, you know. It's there for a reason. Everything I do is for a reason. Everything I do is to benefit the pony, you know, horse, whatever it may be. So you have to, if you're on a yard and you've done what I've just done, and people say, don't do it like that. So I do know what I'm doing. I'm doing this for a reason, yeah? All right, my darling. Okay, God bless.